I'm Sarah, Ausha's US Podcast Ambassador, the podcast marketing platform that helps you manage your podcast from A to Z. From hosting to monetization to distribution, communication, and analysis, Ausha's got you covered. In this new video, I'm going to show you how to make a great podcast cover so you can stand out from all the rest of the podcast out there and catch the eye of anyone scrolling through the different listening platforms. If you want a stylish cover, follow my advice and don't copy my artwork. Welcome to Tips. It's super important to choose a good cover for your podcast because before being listened to, a podcast will be first seen. Seriously, in one square and a couple pixels, you need to sell the entire identity and theme of your podcast. Ooh, pressure. And on top of that, you have to stand out from the crowd because the competition is tough, really tough. On average, 2 podcasts are created every minute. That means by the end of this video, there will be 10 more podcasts out there in the universe. That's a lot of podcasts. So your cover is your first weapon to stand out from the crowd and attract listeners to your podcast. Listen, here, there's no negotiation possible. The cover has to be in a square. This is the only way to make sure that nothing gets cut off between social media and the listening platforms. They say don't put a square peg in a round hole, and don't put a round podcast cover on your square podcast. In terms of format, the resolution is important too. You do not want it too low, so make sure it's 1400 by 1400 pixels, so that way you don't have any problems when you need to blow it up and make a big, beautiful poster. Also, by designing your podcast in a square format, you can reuse it anywhere. You can put it in your email signature, you can put it on your website, you can put it on your business cards, and you can use it for your pod swag. The square format will serve you well, so go forth and be square. Your podcast cover should show the universe of your podcast and at the same time give a taste of the themes that you're going to cover. So before choosing the design elements of your cover, ask yourself a couple questions. What are you going to talk about on your show? What is the tone of your episodes? What is the format of your show? And finally, who are your listeners? With these answers, it will be easier to define the style of your cover and more broadly, all of the other images and designs that will come from it, whether for your website, your newsletter, or social media. Okay, so your cover should be unique, so please avoid headphones or like a little speaker. Like, we get it, it's a podcast. Been there, done that. For example, if your podcast is about film, why not use like a film reel? Or if your podcast is about cars, why don't you put your favorite make and model on there? Really, the choice is yours, anything you want, but do be creative. But whatever you choose, make sure to keep it simple because this is the cover of your podcast. It's not just an image that you've designed randomly. We need to see the title of your podcast somewhere on it because ultimately we should know what the title of your podcast is. But don't worry, you can also just keep things really simple and just have your cover be the title of your podcast. I mean, I do know some podcasts, some amazing podcasts actually, that do just that. Look, some podcasters are more comfortable putting their face on their podcast cover. Others want to stick to illustrations. Really, the choice is up to you. If you're launching a podcast about current events, a photo could be a good choice to make it feel more grounded in reality. If you're doing a talk show, for example, then it's probably good to put your face on the cover so that way your audience can connect with you and see that you are the focus of the show. On the other hand, an illustration gives you infinite possibilities and you can be really creative and create something very cool. Basically, it's up to you. You choose. It's your universe. It's your podcast. It's your cover. Make it a square. Your cover will play a big role in the brand identity of your podcast. And there's an element that will impact all of your communications that is a direct result from your cover, and that is the colors. Selecting your colors is important because they must represent the theme of your podcast. To choose them, you can rely on color theory. To learn more about color theory, I have a link in the description below. You can go read all about it, but I do have a few examples. For example, if your podcast tone is warm and fun, then stick with warmer colors like oranges and yellows. If the themes of your podcast are more serious, then you want to go more with cool colors like greens and blues. And once you've created your color palette, keep it handy because you're going to want to use it for all of your visuals. Also, as important as choosing your colors is choosing your typography. In general, we know what the right font is when we see it, which means you're going to be looking at a lot of fonts. So select your title and start scrolling through the different fonts on Photoshop, on Google Fonts, on Canva, wherever. To find the perfect font, you're gonna have to be a bit like Goldilocks. You're gonna have to taste a lot of porridge before you find one that's just right. But when you find it, it will be totally worth it. Just one rule though, Comic Sans MS forbidden, and we'll be watching you. If you have the Adobe suite, Photoshop and Illustrator are great to create your cover. You'll have all the tools you'll need. Plus, if you want to do something extra fancy, you just go to YouTube. There are loads of tutorials which will explain how you can do what you want to do. If you want a free and, dare I say, easier option if you have very little skills using Photoshop, but I do recommend Canva. There are a lot of pre-created designs that can give you inspiration. It's much easier than starting from scratch. And if design is not your cup of tea and you have a little bit of money to throw at the problem, why not hire a graphic designer? I mean, just let a professional take control. You'll just have to pitch them your podcast and your concept in a few words, and then just let the magic happen. Let the professional do what they do best. Luckily, there are a lot of freelance websites out there for people looking for work, so hit a Google search and you'll be sure to find someone that you're looking for. Finally, for more inspiration, just head over to your favorite listening platform and see what other people are doing. You can also go to Instagram. For example, there is this great account called Podcastopolis. I can't pronounce it, but we'll have a link in the description below. You can just guess what the pronunciation is. It's an Instagram account that features graphic podcast covers, and there are some really cool ones. I definitely recommend taking a look. And now you know how to make a great cover for your podcast. If you're looking for more tips, you can go to our website at ausha.co, where you can find out about all of the tools we've created to help make podcasters' lives easier. By using our platform, your podcast will reach your future listeners' ears in no time. If you like this video, please like it, please share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episodes. And that's all. See you next time.